Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a half shell. Turtle power.
Hey guys, Angel again. So welcome to episode 3 of my Ninja Turtles review stuff. This is volume 3. This one is called Shadows of the Past. Do excuse me, I've left my glasses at work because I have lost my glasses case. Well done, Angel. Yay! So this is Shadows of the Past. We got a nice pic of Shredder on here. I have now worked out how to get the pictures up there in the corner, but I couldn't actually find any nice pictures. At least I think I've worked out how to do it. But again, I couldn't actually find any nice pictures of anything other than that front cover. So I thought it would be kind of weird to like just have the one and then, yeah. So maybe I'll do it next time just to prove I can do it. And then find out I can't, I expect. But anyway, so volume 3. So the last graphic novel we left off with Master Splinter had been kidnapped, April had fainted, the turtles were leaving, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like all of the stories from the previous set of comics in that graphic novel were kind of on a loose end. This is gonna sort of round up sort of some of the stories, kind of some of the arc, if you will. We start off with a little sort of like homely thing with dear old April looking very, very confused. So yeah, we've got April, they're having chats with them and they introduce themselves and this, that and the other, and we slip straight away onto Splinter, who's strapped onto a medical table, onto a gurney, and being tested on with Hob in the background, sort of like ha 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 ha, I kidnapped you, blah 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 blah, and so on. And of course it sort of flips back between sort of what's going on with Splinter and what's going on with the turtles, and so on. So now Casey and April have met up. They kind of stick with the turtles throughout this whole thing, which is quite cool. We do introduce some more characters in this, which is really exciting because it's a character I actually really like, from not only the original comics, but I also like her from the 2003 version, but we'll get to her a little later. We get some discussions between Krang and Dr. Stockman, just as they're on the way to sort of kind of like test on Splinter. Again, animal testing bad. Ooh. And so on. You've got Donnie uses a mouser to find their way to Splinter, etc. They find their way to the lab, they work their way through, and of course, in true fashion, when they do actually get there, they find Splinter is gone. Whoops! So they've got all the way in, and when they get there, and they sort of like harass the poor scientists there that are just kind of doing their job, a bad job, mind you, but kind of just doing their jobs. They find out that actually somebody's already rescued him. But of course we find out that he's not in fact been rescued, and we are introduced to a new character. Now, this isn't the one I was talking about just now. I do kind of like this character anyway, but this is not the one I was talking about just now. It is Karai. So Karai is in this one. For those of you who don't know, Karai is Shredder's daughter in many different sort of universes. In this one, she is his granddaughter. When they go into the storyline a bit more, I'm pretty sure it's like a great granddaughter of some description, because yeah. And so we're introduced to Karai and Shredder. We do get Shredder in this. And basically they are kind of aware, I think, of who Splinter is. They're really sort of they test him, they test his mettle. They're aware that Splinter is against them at the very least, even if they're not aware that it's this reincarnation of Hamato Yoshi, or possible reincarnation of Hamato Yoshi, because there's nothing confirmed as yet. But let's face it, guys, it's kind of obvious where they're going. We then, this part of the story, we then flip between the turtles, then obviously going off with April and Casey, still trying to figure out where exactly their sensei is and father is, and of course the fight that Splinter is having with various members of the Foot. In this you get a sort of internal monologue and so on, about what Splinter is thinking whilst the fight is going on, and it's quite interesting. It follows on for the belief that Splinter believes he is Hamato Yoshi, and so on, and his thoughts of sort of how he's reacting to the fact that these guys are fighting him. We flip back again, sort of briefly, to the lab and Dr. Stockman having got there with Krang, only to find out that his little test subject has now escaped, which now means that he's embarrassed himself in front of his boss. But to be honest, they don't really do much with them yet. More will happen with them in later graphic novels, or later comic books. But at this stage, they're kind of minor side characters, where they're doing quite a good job of building them up quite slowly, which is quite nice. They're not kind of, although they've introduced a lot of characters, they're kind of like trickle feeding. They're trickle feeding everything, which is pretty cool. So let's see. April takes them to a new hideout, because obviously they can't stay at their home because they've been busted out of that one. And they discuss what they're doing. Later on in the night, we are then introduced to another new character. Now, if you haven't watched the 2003 episodes, you probably won't recognize this character. Again, she was in the original comics. She wasn't in the 1980s cartoon. She wasn't in the next mutation, unless Venus was supposed to be her. I have nothing against Venus. She could have been a really good character. Sadly, the writers should all have been hung, drawn and quartered. Don't get me wrong, it was funny. I own it on DVD, but Venus's backstory is beyond horrendous. How on earth did her master just like get her to China from bloody America? No. Anyway, so we are introduced to Angel. Now, as I say, if you've watched the 2003 episodes, there is a character called Angel in it. I don't think she was used nearly enough. She was quite cute in it. She's still a tough girl, tough, but she was kind of cute. You know, she was tough, but she wasn't very good at being tough. So we had Angel in 2003. They kind of hinted at her and Raphael sort of having a thing, but then later on in the 5th series they also hinted that he and Joy had a thing. So if you watch the 2003 one, you will also notice that Donnie seems to be the most popular among the ladies, just in general, so which is really funny. So we get introduced to Angel, who turns out she is a relatively head honcho in the Purple Dragons. But it's okay. It's okay. She's not a bad guy, sort of. She's still a gangster who fights with twin fighting sticks. But yeah, she is technically one of the bad guys, but not one of the bad guys. She's trying to run the gang in a good way. I don't know how you run a gang in a good way, to be honest. It kind of screams of Double Dragon. I don't know if you remember that movie. But there were like gangsters that weren't really gangsters. At least not how we think of gangsters. But anyway, so she kind of argues with her gang because she wants to go and help the Turtles because she's like best buds with Casey and she owes him a favor. They don't like that, so they end up leaving her to herself, which is like, oh, I would never have guessed that gangsters wouldn't want to go and be heroes. Oh. So yeah, so she goes off with the Turtles and Casey, and at last we are winding up this little story. So they go off, they figure out where Splinter is. Aloplex makes a show in this. I've mentioned her before. She is kind of like, if anyone remembers the Archie comics, she's kind of like a white ninjara. She is an Arctic fox, a mutated Arctic fox. We learn more about her later on. She has been in one of the side comics. The Ninja Turtles like to do like little side comic things. Yeah, they go off, they find Splinter, or at least find the foot, and they are fighting, they do the whole fighting thing. Leo said some awesome stuff. I'm going to read this to you because this is an awesome thing. So Karai says, "You will need a miracle to defeat us, Mutant. You are severely outnumbered." And he's like, "Yeah, well, let me fill you in on a little family secret. My brother's the one who cares about numbers." Clearly talking about Donnie. And does all the bits. And he's just like, "I'm the one that believes in miracles, dude." It's like, loser. So funny. I like it. So yeah, so they rescue it. Donnie finds Splinter and is like, "Oh, he can't walk, Mikey, we're gonna have to rescue him." Raph like takes out Aloplex because they clearly have a history. It goes on and on. The fight goes on for quite a while, but the banter is just great. I love the banter, so you need to read it for the banter, really. And so on and so forth. They ultimately defeat him, obviously. Obviously citing teamwork. Teamwork is the key, children. Teamwork is the key. And you see them all running away from the warehouse or whatever the building is that they've done it. You have a brief flip to a scene where Hob gets shot by Dr. Stockman. We don't know why. But not only does Hob get shot by Dr. Stockman, but Krang seems to inject Dr. Stockman and knock him out afterwards. Not sure why. And then you have the wind down where April sort of is really sweet. She gets upset and she cries, and Splinter's like, "Why are you crying?" And she's like, "I'm so glad you're okay. You're so hurt. Thank you for saving my life." So yeah, so that's where it ends. Again, some great artwork in the back of this. The artwork is a little bit better than the previous one. As I said before, the last graphic novel was a bit odd in some of the designs. There's still one or two places where I'm like, ooh, okay. But I really like this one. You know, we've got a bit of action, a bit more action in this one. So we've wrapped up a bit of a storyline without wrapping it up completely. And so on, and we've basically finished the introduction of April, Casey. We've introduced a lot of main characters and sort of like finished that. Like, this would be an end of an episode basically if it was a cartoon or whatever. So yeah, so that's volume 3. I hope you liked this episode. If you do or did, then please feel free to subscribe below. And if you like to hear more of my cosplays, the outfit made in the little picture in the intro is of me in my own handmade Ninja Turtle cosplay. Although I must confess I did buy the backpack, but you can't really see it in that, so... then please feel free to check out my page, which is Angels Cosplay Magic. Love you all. I will see you next time. Bye, guys. Mwah!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a half shell. Turtle power. They're the world's most fearsome fighting team.
We're really hip.
Ninja Turtles. They're heroes in the half shell. And they're green.
Hey, get a grip.
When the evil Shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't cut 'em no slack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be ninja teams.
He's a radical rat.
Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines.
That's a fact, Jack.
Raphael is cool but rude.
Give me a break.
Michelangelo is a party dude.